how good was Nina Simone? And is her body of work art? Is it a great cultural contribution that we shouldn't call art, but we should call something else? How do we label it? This is a question from an audience. This is a platform where you and I get to connect much more than on my main channel. Nina Simone was a musician of genius. And the two most important qualities she had were, first of all, rhythmical strength, and secondly, characterization. We'll say a bit about both. Nina Simone was as strong rhythmically as anybody outside the classical music world over the past century. And if there are people in the classical music world who are stronger than Nina rhythmically, their number might be under 10 in the last century. When we say that a musician has great rhythmical strength, we're talking about this connection between one note and the next, and this next note coming not too late, but not too soon after the previous note, and that link between the two notes being held by an extraordinary tension and electricity, like somebody pulling on a rope. The pulling on the rope bit is an image that Alfred Brendel used to use with his students, Alfred Brendel, the pianist. Nina was rhythmically just supreme. The second quality she had was characterization. She had this extraordinary facility to generate an emotion, and within a few bars, generate another emotion with total conviction. And then within a couple of more bars, move out of that second emotion, but not to another emotion, but just to the perception of that emotion from a distance. For example, a felt moment looked back upon from the future, retrospective feeling. Now, Nina's recordings are many, and what happens to a lot of people who know that Nina Simone is great, you've got to listen to her, is that you kind of don't pick the best recordings to hear. When we do a long episode on Nina, we're going to break down her recording legacy. But for now, if you were to go anywhere, I'd actually recommend you go somewhere on YouTube. And where you got to go is 1976 Montreux Festival, and Nina giving a rendition of Feelings. That performance displays music making of genius, characterization of genius, and supreme rhythmical strength, including when she's at the piano. I'm going to take a break for the noise. So she was amazing rhythmically at the keyboard too, but her sound production wasn't very good there. But I think that's a fascinating question. What could she have been if she had become a pianist? That would have been obviously the wrong turn for her, given all she could give. But that's a fascinating question, how much she could have developed just as a pianist. Now, my extremely valued friend, audience member, asks, how come in the previous video on this channel I don't straightforwardly call Nina's work art? And have I lost my mind? I'm battling against the building that needs to be repaired. So if Nina is so great, how come on a couple of previous videos I questioned whether her extraordinary musical contribution is art? I think that we're going to say much more about this in a future long-form video, because you've got to understand what is it human beings do when they make art, and how this whole business of humans making art start, and how is humans making art different to other amazing things. I mean, obviously, not all beautiful things that you see and not all things that give you a very rich aesthetic experience are art. If you look at extraordinary cliffs over the ocean, that's not art. That's very beautiful, though, and very moving. And I think that a lot of creative musical things human beings do are art, and a lot of them are not art. And very often the things that are not art are actually better than the things that are art. So you've got to get clear about this, because if we don't, we're not going to understand how the expressiveness, the communication, the creativity of human beings works. Let's lay a couple of things on the table, but not dive deeply into them, because we're going to keep this very brief. Now, a lot of things are art, but bad art. In fact, almost all art is bad art, but it's still art. So we can't lose that distinction. Now, what is it that makes something art? I think what makes something art is that there's a three-stage process. First of all, an artist has an unconscious psychological state. I'm going to go through this. Secondly, that's expressed via marks on the canvas or via marks on a sheet of music. And then thirdly, this is received by an appropriately initiated listener or viewer who understands upon engaging with these marks on the canvas or with the, let's say, production in sound of the marks on the page, who understands through this engagement, perceives the artist's intention. There is this three-pronged process: psychological state, its expression via a particular mode, and then the reception of the artist's intention, of which the artist is herself never conscious, by an appropriately placed listener, spectator. And so one of the problems with Nina Simone is that what she is doing has extraordinary expressive value, but the songs she sings aren't works of art themselves as compositions. And so can something be a great work of art? Can a musical performance be a great work of art if it is the performance of a composition that is neither a great work of art nor a work of art at all? Sometimes it might be something, in fact, that's just pretty interesting. Sometimes it might be something that's a very rich and dense and important cultural item. But it's not necessarily an artistic item. It's not like a Beethoven sonata. So this is why it's very important that when on this channel you hear words like "this isn't art," it's A, not a condemnation of it, and B, it's something that might not even make sense to somebody who is, unlike me, not a professional thinker about art, because there are very many nuanced distinctions involved. Of course, this is what I do, and while some of the recent content people have kindly engaged with is content that has a curational quality. That's what I'm doing with the Russia stuff. I'm not saying anything original. I'm literally just sort of gluing myself to the best sources with the best access, sometimes emailing them, but often just consuming them, and then reproducing that. Whereas I'm a philosopher who carries on a certain tradition of thinking about art, and here I offer something more and some original thought. So this is a bit of context. Go listen to 1976 Feelings if you can, and if you survive to the end of this video, you're obviously a hero. And if you are the question asker and you survive, then you're double hero for the length of the answer and for the noise all around. Bye for now.